Does being like as open as you are ever get to you? Because like I mean, I try to be that way, to be very honest about what's going on in my head and all that type of shit. But like you literally a few weeks ago on Legion of Skanks, you read your father's police report from a sexual assault that he committed, allegedly committed, I'll say. But like
Allegedly.
shit like that I'm very impressed with, where I'm like, that's an unbelievable, to read that on air is a pretty crazy moment, you know? Or maybe
Yes.
it's
I
not
mean,
for you.
look, I'm more open than most people. Um, I read that report at the same time as everybody else. A fan put it on Twitter, and I never found it. This guy had access. He was a lawyer, so he had access to like, old newspaper articles and fucking. He was in a library looking at microfiche somewhere, like doing his, trying to find shit on me. And he wasn't doing it in a way to troll me. He was doing it in a way where he knows the type of comedy that I
Sure.
do and that we do. And he goes, dude, you guys are gonna love this for Skanks. And he sent it, and we did. It was really, really the way we did it was very funny.
Right.
But look, it's a form of therapy to a certain degree. It's like if I can look at this subject matter and try to create something funny or something positive out of it, it is, it is this process that you have to do a lot of thinking. You have to do a lot of soul searching. You're looking at things, you're stepping away from the emotion of it, you're looking at it in a logical way. And that's sort of the way that I've looked at everything that I talk about. I'm an open book. There's nothing that I hide, good or bad. I mean, I'm pretty open about everything. So, that, yeah, I mean, when I initially read it, yeah, it hurt. And finding out those things about your parents or your dad, I think other people would want to maybe bury it away. For me, it was, just sort of the opposite. I look at things, I do have like a producer's mind as well. So immediately I was like, that's going to be great on the show. So I can
Yeah.
separate myself from it. But yeah, I think that for me personally, comedy has been very, very therapeutic, and it saved my life in a lot of ways. I could have down a very, very different path. So yeah, I don't really shy away from any of that.
Are you in therapy or anything like that?
Not right now, but I have been a bunch.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of therapy. I've done anger management. Um, and I learned because I used to always say like, "Oh, comedy is my therapy," and I've always had this philosophy. But it's also you do need therapy. Therapy. You need to cry about these things sometimes too. You need to look at your life and not always be trying to make a joke out of it, and you take some things a little more seriously. And I've been able to do that a little bit as I've gotten older, especially now that I got a kid. I got an 8-year-old son. Um, I'm trying to be the best role model for him. And I'm trying to, just all the little everyone knows if you step outside of yourself, you could point out all the things that are wrong. You can say, you got to fix that, you got to fix that. Your diet could be better here, you could be exercising more here, you could have better relationships with these people, you're being a dick in this thing, your emotion just sort of takes over you sometimes and you fuck up. But from a logical standpoint, I know the things that I have to be doing in order to be the best father possible and to be the best person possible. So it's been a process of stepping outside of myself and trying to fix those things, as often as possible.
One thing I kind of admire about you is like the what I mean, maybe it's kind of a facade for entertainment, but like you seem to have incredible confidence. But the way you describe yourself in high school as being like a goth weirdo, did you have to make that? Were you always kind of confident, or did you have to make that change at some point?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I was, I was always into being unique. Right. So even like there was goth kids in my high school that didn't like me because I wasn't a goth kid. Right. I was like me and my friends were a unique crew of kids. I was nominated for most individualistic in my class superlatives. I wore eyeliner not because goth kids were wearing eyeliner, it's because the other Puerto Rican kids in my neighborhood weren't,
Yeah.
and they'd be like, "What the
Most
fuck's wrong with you?"
individualistic, I feel like means like this kid may shoot up the school.
Yes,
Keep an eye
basically.
on him.
But yeah, I mean, I was always me. I was in a band in high school. I was always a producer. I was always the guy putting together the shows. There's a video, in fact, there's a Coheed and Cambria video from a show that I produced. You can look it up. It's like Coheed and Cambria at the back door in Nyack. I think they were called Shibuti. I don't even know if they changed their name yet. Um, but it's like I jump on stage at the end of the show. I'm like, "Hey guys, we got t-shirts in the back." It's like I'm being me. I'm always a salesman. I'm always looking to sort of be at the center of these universes. yeah, I haven't changed much. It's just, I don't know. I just started working out when I got a little bit older. It's really the only difference.
Um, I've been. I mean, you kind of referenced it earlier, but I've been to the last three Skankfests, and like you were saying, it's crazy the reputation that Skankfest fan. It kind of Kirk Minahan's fans are kind of like this as well, where because the show has a certain tone to it, people are like, "Oh, these Barstool's the same way," where you're like, "Oh, these scumbags."
Right.
But it's really like when I was at Skankfest, it's one of the most accepting groups I've ever been around, and it's a crazy tight community. Like I'm a blind, socially awkward weirdo that like bumps into shit and moves around weird, and
Mhm.
people were incredibly nice and conversational and all that. But all that is a lead up to like, will we ever be able to do that again? Because the one downside of Skankfest is that you're crammed in there, like fucking, you can smell the body odor of the person next to you. So will
Yeah.
that happen anytime soon?
So Skankfest is unique. Like people don't understand. Like most comedy festivals are at 10 different venues over the course of a week, whatever it is, right? Skankfest is a party. It's a house party. It feels tight. We were at Brooklyn Bazaar for a couple years in a row, and it's just four different rooms, four different stages. And you're bumping into all of your favorite comedians, all of your favorite podcasters. There's over 150 performers, all of these different live shows. There's music, there's everyone's smoking weed. It's very counterculture-y, so everyone's sharing joints and fucking doing drugs and hooking up in bathrooms. And it is there's nothing like it.
Right.
It's one of the things I'm most proud of that I've ever been a part of. The concept came from, I would do these heavy metal cruises. I did a cruise called Shipwrecked, and once you're on the boat, you're on the boat. You can't escape. Everyone's eating together, everyone's partying together. There's different stages on different decks that are all starting every half an hour to an hour. There's a new show starting. That's where it came from. The concept of Skankfest came from, I stole it from a fucking heavy metal cruise.
Yeah.
I was like, well, imagine there wasn't a ship. We just had a venue that acted as the ship, and nobody could leave. Nobody's, I mean, you can leave, but nobody does leave. Like everyone's on different decks doing different things, and new shit is starting every hour. So it was very, very, nobody has ever created something like that before in terms of a comedy festival. And, if somebody, I'm sure somebody will copy the idea one day. Um, will it come back? I think so. I mean, I think we need to society needs to get back to normal. We would look, our fan base would do it right now. Our fan base would come to Skankfest and would rub elbows, and 10% of them could die and they wouldn't give a shit, right? But it's not about so much like would the audience do it, but I need to get all of these comics. It can't just be like fucking, the 20 comedians that don't believe COVID is real. It has
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
be, you have to get everybody. And I'm very proud of the fact that it's not just a bunch of dirty comics. We had Gaffigan a couple years ago,
Right.
guys like Nate Bargatze. We had Nikki
Fucking
Glazer,
Janine Garofalo was there.
Janine
For anyone who thinks it's
Garofalo.
like an alt right
No,
fest,
it's yeah, we really, I mean, dude, I mean, we have so many, it's literally the list goes on and on. And of course, we have all of the dirty ones and all of the guys that from this world of skanks. But we try to make it really inclusive, and I love showing off to these other comics that aren't a part of our world how incredible our audience is, because everybody walks out of Skankfest going like, holy shit, that was the best crowd I've ever performed in front of in my entire life, the most supportive crowd. I mean, you're talking about people that are they're comics that appear once or twice on some of these podcasts. They walk around like celebrities. People are asking them for autographs and they want to take pictures with them. The comics that come into Skankfest, they walk out of it going like, holy shit, this was unlike anything else I've ever done before. So I want to wait till society is back to normal, right? And or to a certain degree, to as normal as we could possibly be. So, what we're doing is we're pushing Skankfest South back now. It looks like it's going to be November in Houston, and we're looking at June for Skankfest New York. So we're just switching things. We didn't do Skankfest New York last year. So anybody who has Skankfest South tickets can use them for Skankfest New York. The venue we're looking at in New York is all outdoors. So we'll do some tents, and we'll sort of spread things out a little bit. It won't exactly be as tight as it's been in the past,
right?
because I think this summer, whereas I think we will have some normalcy, there's still going to be restrictions to a certain degree. And you just want to make, you don't want people to not feel comfortable, and that's both the audience and the performers. So you want everyone to feel really good about being there. You don't want to I don't want to do a stripped down version of what this is. We could have technically done it this past summer, did some outdoor shows, called it Skankfest, but that's not we I it's such a special weekend and it's so unique that I would rather not do it than do a stripped down version of it.
Yeah, because I think Ari Shafir promised an outdoor skank fest and that never happened.
Ari Shafir is a lying Jew.
It's an impeachable offense, I feel like.
It really is.
Yeah, actually, the first the first year I went to Skankfest was the second year of its existence. I believe that was the year that Zach Amico got piss thrown on him by Ari
Oh
Shafir,
yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
that didn't like. I just thought of it as a very funny occurrence because I listen to all these podcasts and I know the tone and all that shit. One of my buddies that went was not that familiar, and it didn't even dawn on me that when we left, he's like, "Is that a normal like day in this world?" I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much."
Yeah, I mean, look, we took it a little bit far. The
Yeah.
piss throwing, it was 2 years in a row of piss throwing. We ended it last year. Ari was supposed to get me back because I threw a cup of piss at Ari the following year.
Right.
It started getting out of hand. The venue wasn't happy. Nobody was happy. Nobody was happy about the piss being thrown. Yeah, last year or 2 summers ago at Skankfest in New York, I ended up having a sort of a sparring MMA match with Harrington, who's one of my producers. And afterwards we set up a pro wrestling bit where Chuck Payne is a fucking 6'6" huge pro wrestler. He showed up and he fucking kicked my ass. He put me through a table, which was just I'm an old school pro wrestling fan. So
Yeah.
going through the training for it and going up against Chuck and having this moment where you big power slam and then he fucking puts me through a table. It was cool, dude. It hurt like hell. I pulled both my groin muscles. The whole weekend was fucking painful because of it, but it was a really, really cool experience, just sort of a nostalgic thing. I always wanted to be a pro wrestler as a kid, so getting to do that bit was really, really fun. But what I didn't know, to get me back after Chuck put me through the table, I'm rolling around holding my ribs. My eyes are closed. I look up and I just see Ari Shafir's famous asshole coming toward my face. And when I wasn't looking, he pulled down his pants and he just sat directly on my face. And Ari, if you don't know Ari Shafir, he's a really disgusting asshole, and he had hemorrhoids and he had like major surgeries on it, and it is just loose meat. It's truly a nightmare. I can't even explain to you what it looks like, but he sat directly on my face, and that was the final
Jesus Christ.
that was the final retribution for the piss throwing. We agreed to let bygones be bygones at that point.
Wow, what a beautiful world.